Oh my God, it's our first round of the Nerd Off. Travis is wearing his Captain America shirt today, so I forgot you want to be Batman and Travis is Captain America. Whatever, nerds.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I'm wearing? I'm wearing my scary cold pants. We never see these things in the age of Zoom.
You're Mr. Freeze because of Becky's.
Yeah. Well, you want to see these are my scary winter.
Oh, those are hot.
I'm wearing, yeah,
those
really
hot.
hot.
Drop them all.
You need a utility belt to hold them up.
That's right.
Okay,
when it's like Fargo outside, these are the pants that I wear. It's like I should be scraping serial numbers off of things with Jerry Lundegaard. These pants.
My friend Glenn in New York sent me the picture of Jack Nicholson, half frozen to death. What's that from?
The Shining.
The Shining.
Like, so cold. Okay. You dropped those trow again. Those are hot. Those are like lumberjack pants, Bob. Well, his thing says Dick Pinch, like literally on the screen right down front. It
That's
says
my
Dick
Zoom
Pinch.
name.
Yeah.
And also apparently my name on all over social media. Everyone calls me Dick Pinch now. I'm so proud.
Bill O'Reilly hasn't been on TV for so long, and this is still funny.
Dick Pinch, Clear Lake, Iowa.
Okay, Bill was so easily punked. Like everyone that wrote letters.
Yeah.
Right. Jack Mayhofer writes from.
Jack Mayhofer, Springfield, Massachusetts.
And he does it with such gusto, doesn't he? Jack Mayhofer. Hi.
And
Bill O'Reilly, Jack Mayhofer.
All of us in radio are so equally immature. We're like, me. It's all Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Bob, I don't even know where to start with. There's a new video from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Did you see this in 2019? She told supporters to flood the Capitol. Feel free to use violence. And they're still just not sure what they should do about her. Yeah. Just Kevin McCarthy hasn't figured it out yet. Uh-oh, Bob, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be a tape. I was waiting for the tape.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. No, I was asking just about this latest Marjorie Taylor Greene tape.
I actually thought about that too. I'm like, was I supposed to play something?
I was looking at Chris, and Chris is like, he's looking down at the buttons.
Yeah, like,
everything's fine technically. We're all just staring into middle space.
Right.
Yeah. I think the scariest thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene is that voters actually elected her. I heard someone talking about that on cable news yesterday. I was like, yeah, that's actually true. How could that be even possible? And that, to me, completely underscores the idea that what we have been observing, and I think there needs to be studies done about this. There certainly needs to be a commission about how 75 or 74 million Americans were once again deceived in a massive con. I mean, we're talking about a mass delusion. People who worship this guy, Donald Trump, who we've all considered to be a cartoon character for so many years. Now, not only were they giving him millions of dollars that he did not use for the Stop the Steal thing. I mean, $145 million, I think, were donated, 175, somewhere in that range. And not only did they give them this ridiculous Stop the Steal thing all their money, but so many of them are now going to be going to prison for 20 years, possibly, for this insurrection, all because of Donald Trump, the guy who stood up at the Emmys in overalls and sang the Green Acres theme. Oh. This is their messiah, their leader that they're willing to sacrifice everything for. To me, nothing says mass delusion more than that. People who are so incredibly susceptible to a con. I mean, if the United States was like a carnival, you would have 74 million people lined up to see the Yak Woman, thinking, oh my God, there's a real Yak Woman here. We should go in and see. Here's $10 so I can see the Yak Woman. That's the kind of delusion that we're talking about. And I will never get over that. It was like, oh, here he goes again about Donald Trump and how everyone was crazy for supporting him. But this is a major, major thing. 74 million people voted for him. And I will never get over that. And
how long have we been saying it? It's Fox News and right-wing radio. We just have two, not just separate set of facts, Bob, but like we were saying last night, just separate realities. We don't have shared American experiences because Fox News won't cover Officer Sicknick lying in honor, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah,
okay,
that was not a surprise when I was flipping through the channels last night, and CNN, MSNBC, they were covering the Capitol Rotunda live. I mean, with just the ambient audio in most cases.
Yeah.
You turn over to Fox News Channel, and it was Laura Ingraham screaming about Dr. Fauci. I mean,
Yeah.
my God, talk about tone deaf. Yeah, blue lives matter, except when they don't. That's the Fox News
Right.
motto.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And, just the simple act of Joe Biden not announcing it, not, Trump, just being a president
Yeah.
and looking like a president. That Fox News can't air that. I mean, him standing at the wreaths and just shaking his head in like disbelief to me just said everything, right? It was like a human moment of all of us going, what? It was a new reality that this happened. And you're right. Of course, Fox News wouldn't cover it. I mean, I loved our friend Fred Gutenberg's tweet. He said, having experienced my own horrific loss, tonight I'm reminded why electing Joe Biden as president mattered so deeply to me. He's the right president for our time. His decency, civility, and empathy is desperately needed. A really important night for America. And that's what it felt like. But again, you're right, half of America. Because the other half, I don't. Anyway, by the way,
I don't know what caused it. What was the centerpiece of it? I mean, was it the opioid crisis? What is the inciting incident? What is the factor that made so many people susceptible to this guy? I mean, I can imagine if some sort of Barack Obama figure emerged on the right who was charismatic, who delivered these soaring speeches and everything like that, but it was like Donald
Reagan.
Trump.
At least I got it with Reagan.
Yeah.
You get why, but even if you agree with policies, but okay. But now we have nerds like Ted Cruz. Now let's just start with, as radio professionals, that Ted Cruz has a podcast. Wow. So let's think about what humans would want to hear his whiny bitch ass little voice if they were not required by law to listen to it, like from the well of the Senate. So let's start with Ted Cruz has a podcast. Okay. So on Ted Cruz's podcast, which is new. Because I really want to know the downloads for that. Okay. He is getting roasted on Twitter for bizarrely comparing the left to comic book villains. I saved this nerd segment for you, Bob, and your fellow nerd, Travis Bone.
Yes.
So he went off on a tangent about how the views of environmentalists align with those of antagonists in the Avengers, Endgame, and Watchmen. Please. See, we're required by, we're getting paid to listen to this. So here it is.
Have you noticed in how many movies, how often rabid environmentalists are the bad guys? Whether it's Thanos or go to Watchmen. Where the view of the left is people are a disease. They buy into the Malthusian line that there are too many people in the world, that people are bad, and everything would be better if we had fewer people. I mean, Thanos wanted to eliminate 50% of the life forms in the universe with one finger snapping.
Bob, you go first.
That's not how.
It's not. Watching Chris Lavoie's face when he says Thanos is one of the funniest things.
It's Thanos. It is Thanos.
Absolutely.
The name of the villain is Thanos.
Yes, he was in the movies. They said his name a lot. It's not suddenly.
I loved Twitter.
Yeah.
So Seth Rogen said, let's not focus on the fact that Ted Cruz doesn't understand movies and focus more on the fact that he inspired a deadly insurrection by perpetuating lies about mass voter fraud. Producer of Watchmen said, literally, what the are you talking about?
Yeah, that's
Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn said maybe he can start with pronouncing
Thanos
correctly and then work his way up to making sense. Okay. So
one of the lead characters from Star Wars.
Culture, right?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. This is part of the mass delusion where they have lost sight of the difference between right and wrong. There is very clearly in the Marvel movies and in most, kind of fantasy sci-fi type movies, there are very clear delineations between the good guys and the bad guys. And sometimes you have a little bit of, let's look at things through the enemy's point of view, through the bad guy's point of view. But for the most part, we understand who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And I love it when, this happens all the time with Star Trek too. Star Trek is another forum where I think there are a lot of far-right conservatives who completely misinterpret that series or that universe of shows. I don't know how they can actually watch it because it's so I mean, Gene Roddenberry's entire vision for the Star Trek series is completely contradictory to conservative dogma. I mean, that's been obvious for many, many years. I mean, one of the first woke series in the history of television was the original Star Trek series.
Right.
Yeah, I know. And frequently they would cast Trump as the villain. You're like, you get that? That's evil villain. Okay, never mind.
I mean, that's the thing about Trump. Trump is our first super villain ever to occupy the White House. I mean, even with he's got the garish costume, he's got the face makeup, all
looks
of it.
Like a Batman villain, right?
Yeah, he absolutely does, or a Dick Tracy villain, one of the other.
Yes.
Yeah, either one.
And then got the Legion of Doom.
Right. And then Ted Cruz could actually be another Batman villain with his visible layer of slime on his face. So I don't know what it is about congressional Republicans, but I think they all stick their faces in a giant vat of Vaseline in the morning, like Mitch McConnell.
He has penguin nose. He does have penguin nose.
Yes, that's right.
Speaking of superheroes, you just tweeted Kamala Harris is the vice president of the United States. That's all. That's the tweet. As you already heard, if you tuned in, I've already taken credit for Joe Manchin voting for the COVID relief because I wore my Madam Vice President t-shirt yesterday and I said, hi, Joe, she doesn't need your permission to come talk to the people of West Virginia. And I said 74% of Americans support Joe Biden's COVID relief plan. Do you? Like, really? We're going to be scared that Joe Manchin's going to vote against a plan that 74% of Americans are for, even in West Virginia, right?
Well, now you have to trade some favors to get Joe Manchin to support killing the filibuster. That's the key. That's going to be the big one. So, Stephanie, do your magic. Work your.
I will work on that. I will pick out just the right T-shirt this time. Okay.
Or maybe you can get Kirsten Sinema to work Joe Manchin for you.
That is my personal project for America. Is Kirsten Sinema.
What about Kristi Noem?
Kristi Noem.
What?
Yeah.
Kristi Noem.
Yeah. Oh, she's lost. She's lost to us. Listen, I admit to my shallowness. I just saw her and she looked like Linda Carter and I thought she was pretty. I did not know she's a pure evil supervillain.
Yes.
But here's another example, Bob, of just a different, not set of facts. There's aren't facts. Those are lies. She was on Fox News, right, Travis, and just said, well, I just think we did the best of anybody about on COVID in the country. She provably was like the second worst in the country.
Right.
Yeah. By the numbers, but they just make up their own reality, right?
Right. I think, too, we need to loop the response to COVID, Trump's response to COVID, basically the Republican Party's response to COVID. We need to loop that into the mix of what manifested the insurrection, because it was that. I mean, I think the first real insurrection that we saw in this country was the Liberate Michigan, Liberate Virginia stuff, with Donald Trump tweeting that out and encouraging his supporters to go and invade various state houses. That's where the assassination plot to get Gretchen Whitmer was hatched because of that whole thing. So
thank you. And he said, oh, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not. I mean,
whether it's Noem or Trump or Fox News Channel just last night talking about how the pandemic isn't real, and now there's Laura Ingraham was going off about how Dr. Fauci's talking about a new strain and all this ridiculousness and how we need to live our lives and get rid, not completely ignore all of the COVID protocol. And that's what's, I think, creating a lot of discontent and a lot of anger and rage at the government. And they just keep doing it. They keep doing it and doing it and doing it until there's going to be another one of these things somewhere, whether it's Washington, D.C. or another state capital, and it's going to get even bloodier than it was the last time.
And they are really reaching, Bob, as you said, I think, on your show and on Twitter, for scandal already in the several days old Biden administration.
Oh, yeah.
Empty Wheel, you retweeted, said the primary scandal the GOP seems to want to gin up is that Biden's press secretary holds actual press conferences and attempts to answer truthfully, deferring if she doesn't know the answer. Right. So that's become, I'll circle back, is like, oh, she's trying to, it's like, no, like Dr. Fauci said, we were told if we don't know the answer, say you don't know.
Right.
This is all new, covering people that don't lie for a living. And you said nothing says the press room has to be a series of pop questions. It's not a game show. I mean, Jen Psaki is, I'm sorry, a superstar.
Yeah.
She is killing it.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, if there was the whole piece in Politico about how Psaki was going around and kind of surveying members of the press.
The P is silent.
Is
And
it
it's
really?
Thanos.
Yeah, it's silent. It's silent.
Thanos. Okay.
Sake, like
Okay.
what
So
you have-
Jen
Yes.
Psaki, also my favorite beverage, said that she was going around, kind of quizzing members of the press in terms of what questions she might get at that day's press availability. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that unless she's using that information to deceive the public, unless she's using that information to screw around with the reporters. But as far as we know, everything that she has said so far has been pretty on the level. It's been honest, and there's no scam here. There's no deception going on, and that's what this is. Just another non-scandal
that's
from the
shocking.
same source as the Rolex story. Or not the same source, but the same kind of mindset.
Yeah. I don't know why you would mispronounce that, Bob. I'm going to have to ask Mary Trump about your psychology.
Is it really Saki? I've
It's
just
Saki.
been okay.
It's like a sake bomb.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Get your psychology. Okay. Listen, Bob.
I never know if you're screwing with me. That's why I'm just like,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. I
No,
know.
but she's not. But she's not.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
Bob, thank you for sometimes calling out, because there are points that the far left seems to meet the far right in terms of right. Speaking of people mocking AOC, Glenn Greenwald, you retweeted Glenn Greenwald using a baby voice to mock AOC for talking about the danger to her life on January 6th and rejecting an alliance with Ted Cruz. She ruined that movement, he said, because all she wants to do is attack Republicans and fortify the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Oh no! And you said the red hats of the left. I mean,
Yeah.
why would you? Okay, so they are against, I guess, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I don't know what they're for.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're for Vladimir Putin. I mean, I think it's one of those things where at some point or another, we're going to find out that some of these contrarians, the red roses on the far left, are, in it for the disruption, and whether they're getting money from Russia or some other entity that wants to scramble the left-right paradigm or whatever goal that Glenn Greenwald has and so on. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And
right.
this is
The
another
Democrats
case.
wants to attack the Republicans and strengthen the Democratic Party. Yes, because we're the good guys.
Mhm. That's right. And meanwhile, my favorite spectator sport is now Carlos Alazraqui trolling Jimmy Dore on Twitter.
Yes.
So
I can't. He tries to pull me into that every week. I can't. All right.
yeah,
Bob
I
says-
have hot dogs and a beer over here, and every time I see a tweet like that, I'm just chowing down. I love it so much.
Ow.